In a packed courtroom, tension hung thick as the second week of Sean Diddy Combs' trial unfolded with a series of shocking revelations that gripped the public's attention. The allegations against the music mogul centered around exploitation, power, and secretive gatherings dubbed freak-off rituals had already turned the legal proceedings into a spectacle. However, no one anticipated that Piers Morgan, a British journalist and television personality, would take the stand and deliver testimony that would send shockwaves through the room and beyond. His presence alone raised eyebrows, as his connection to the hip-hop icon seemed tenuous at best. Yet, as Morgan began to speak, it became clear that his words would reshape the trial's trajectory, leaving Diddy visibly shaken and the world buzzing with speculation. The trial had already been marked by a whirlwind of scandalous headlines, with accusations of illicit behavior dragging Diddy's carefully curated image into the mud. The term freak-off rituals had become a focal point, hinting at hedonistic gatherings that allegedly went far beyond typical celebrity excess. These events, according to whispers in the media and now Morgan's testimony, were not just parties, but orchestrated displays of power and control designed to entangle attendees in a web of complicity. The courtroom, filled with reporters, legal teams, and curious onlookers, had been primed for drama, but Morgan's appearance elevated the proceedings to a new level of intensity. As Morgan walked through the heavy wooden doors, his tailored suit and measured demeanor contrasted sharply with the surreal nature of his involvement. Known for his sharp commentary and media presence, he was an unlikely figure in a trial centered on a hip-hop mogul. His deliberate strides to the witness stand silenced the room, with even seasoned court reporters exchanging whispers of disbelief. The subpoena that brought him here had surfaced in headlines the previous week, fueling speculation about what he could possibly know. As he adjusted the microphone and prepared to speak, the air grew heavy with anticipation. Reporters scribbled furiously, sensing a turning point in the case. Morgan began his testimony with a calm but pointed statement explaining that his connection to Diddy stemmed from personal observations and third-party accounts that offered a window into the mogul's private world. He claimed first-hand knowledge of the alleged freak-off rituals, describing them as lavish, carefully orchestrated events that went far beyond typical celebrity gatherings. According to Morgan, these rituals took place in exclusive settings, luxury yachts, private mansions, where no expense was spared. Beneath the glitz, however, he alleged a darker purpose. These events were designed to reinforce hierarchies of power, with attendees often left feeling both vulnerable and complicit. The courtroom tensed as he spoke, with audible murmurs rippling through the gallery. His words were not just shocking. They suggested a level of evidence that could tie Diddy directly to these controversial gatherings. The defense, sensing the damage Morgan's testimony could inflict, immediately went on the offensive. Diddy's legal team questioned his credibility, painting him as a publicity-hungry media figure eager to insert himself into a high-profile case. They argued that his knowledge was based on rumors, not facts, and accused him of embellishing for attention. But Morgan remained unflappable, countering each question with a steady resolve. He hinted at evidence, text messages, photographs, and accounts from others that he claimed supported his allegations. The suggestion of tangible proof sent a jolt through the room, leaving the jury and spectators hanging on his every word. The defense pushed back, arguing that his claims were speculative, but Morgan's composed delivery made it difficult to dismiss him outright. As the testimony progressed, Morgan revealed the bombshell that would define the day. He had evidence in his possession. Reaching into a folder handed to him by a court officer, he produced printed text messages, blurry photographs, and transcripts of conversations that he claimed corroborated his account. The text messages, partially redacted, allegedly included phrases like "no phones allowed" and "everything stays between us," suggesting a deliberate effort to keep these gatherings secret. Morgan pointed to timestamps that aligned with specific weekends when the events reportedly occurred, describing the communications as the logistical backbone of Diddy's alleged power plays. The photographs, though grainy, depicted extravagant setups, opulent rooms, suggestive decor that Morgan said matched descriptions from attendees. The defense objected, arguing that the images were ambiguous and could depict any number of unrelated events, but the judge allowed them to remain in discussion, urging Morgan to stay focused. The courtroom's atmosphere grew even more charged when Morgan introduced the possibility of an audio recording. He claimed it featured someone close to Diddy speaking candidly about the nature of the rituals. The defense swiftly moved to block its introduction, calling it hearsay and questioning its authenticity. After heated exchanges, the judge deferred its use until later proceedings, but the mere mention of the recording left the room in suspense. The jury, previously stone-faced, now showed signs of curiosity, their attention fixed on Morgan's every word. Diddy, seated at the defense table, struggled to maintain his composure. His jaw tightened, his hands gripped the table, and his frustration became increasingly visible. When Morgan dropped a particularly damning detail, Diddy slammed his hand on the table, the sharp sound cutting through the room. His legal team rushed to calm him, but the outburst drew startled glances from the jury and a stern warning from the judge to maintain decorum. Outside the courtroom, the fallout was immediate. Social media platforms erupted with reactions as hashtags related to the trial trended worldwide. News outlets dissected Morgan's testimony, with headlines screaming about freak-off rituals and Diddy's unraveling image. Public opinion was deeply divided. Some saw Morgan's claims as evidence of troubling behavior, while others dismissed them as circumstantial, accusing him of chasing clout. Memes and edited clips of courtroom sketches spread rapidly, amplifying the trial's grip on the public imagination. Meanwhile, whispers of other incidents began to surface, including claims of suspicious events surrounding those connected to the case. One individual, described as a male sex worker who had provided tapes to federal authorities, had reportedly disappeared, drawing comparisons to similar occurrences in other high-profile cases. These rumors only fueled speculation that powerful forces were at play behind the scenes. Diddy's reaction in the courtroom became a focal point of discussion. At the trial's outset, he had exuded confidence, his posture straight, and his expression carefully neutral. But as Morgan's testimony unfolded, that facade crumbled. Observers noted his rapid hand movements, darting glances, and barely contained frustration. His outburst, though brief, was a stark departure from the unshakable mogul many had come to know. To some, it suggested that Morgan's words had struck a nerve. To others, it was the understandable reaction of a man under immense pressure. Either way, the moment marked a fracture in Diddy's carefully crafted persona, and the media pounced on it. Cameras flashed outside the courthouse as reports of his behavior spread, further fueling the narrative that the trial was unraveling him. The prosecution, emboldened by Morgan's testimony, argued that it strengthened their case, pointing to the accumulation of details as a pattern of behavior. Legal analysts outside the courthouse noted that even if the evidence was disputed, its sheer volume made it harder for the jury to ignore. Diddy's legal team, however, was not backing down. They filed motions to suppress key pieces of evidence and hinted at calling high-profile witnesses to counter Morgan's narrative. A spokesperson for the defense issued a statement dismissing the evidence as lacking merit, expressing confidence that it would not hold up under scrutiny. Behind closed doors, sources suggested the defense was preparing a counterattack, potentially targeting Morgan's credibility or introducing testimony to reframe the allegations. The broader fallout for Diddy extended beyond the courtroom. His career, once defined by groundbreaking achievements in music and business, now faced unprecedented scrutiny. Endorsement deals were reportedly at risk, with one major partnership pausing promotions to distance itself from the controversy. Fans were divided, with some remaining loyal while others expressed outrage or disappointment. Social media became a battleground for competing narratives, with supporters arguing that the allegations were exaggerated or consensual, while critics pointed to the mounting evidence as proof of wrongdoing. The trial's impact on Diddy's legacy was undeniable, raising questions about whether he could recover from the damage already done. As Week 2 drew to a close, the trial remained far from its conclusion. Legal experts predicted that both sides were holding back additional evidence, setting the stage for more dramatic revelations. The prosecution's case, bolstered by Morgan's testimony, seemed to gain momentum, but Diddy's legal team was poised to fight back. The public, meanwhile, remained captivated, grappling with the blurred lines between fact and allegation. The trial had already shattered reputations and exposed secrets no one expected to hear, and with each new development, the stakes grew higher. Would Diddy's defense team turn the tide, or would the evidence continue to mount against him? One thing was certain: The case was far from over, and the next chapter promised to redefine its course. The trial's grip on the public showed no signs of loosening. From Morgan's bombshell testimony to Diddy's tense reactions, every moment was dissected and debated. Allegations of poisonings, disappearances, and orchestrated cover-ups only added to the sense that something larger was at play. As the courtroom prepared for the next phase, the world watched, waiting to see whether Diddy could reclaim his narrative or if his empire would crumble under the weight of the accusations. The truth, it seemed, was still unfolding, and the most shocking revelations might still lie ahead.